Good evening. Thank you for coming tonight. We are here. We are honored as a board. We are honored to serve this community as the trustees of the school board. And in that role, one major task that we have is addressing the school budget. And we are here tonight to listen to your input on that topic. The New York State government has provided the opportunity to grant or expand tax exemptions to several groups. The cost of those exemptions will be reapportioned to other taxpayers in the community, as Jim Sutherland and Frank McCree will explain. We have been told that we should not put this to a community-wide vote by legal counsel. So we are seeking your input directly on this topic, as well as on the budget priorities. With that, Jim and Frank will provide some background in a brief presentation, also found in the handouts and shared in the newsletter that went out a few weeks ago. And following that, I'll open the opportunity for the public to be heard. This meeting will be made up of basically the three items: the short presentation, the opportunity for the public to be heard, and the opportunity for the board to be heard. Thank you very much for being here tonight. And with that, I open it to Jim and Frank.
Okay, I don't think I need a microphone. Can everyone hear me? Perfect. I'm Frank McCree. I'm the superintendent. Jim Southern, our assistant superintendent for business, finance, everything else. When we create budgets, and mostly Jim is going to do the presentation because he knows our numbers way better than anyone else I've ever met. We look at the fiscal sustainability of the district. We look at the data, what we can do for our students, how we can sustain it, and then what that impact looks like on our taxpayers. One of the main goals that Jim and I do when we do this, and again, I'm a taxpayer as well in this community, is we look at the fact of what does a district absolutely need to survive now? What does it need for our students? And what do we need in the future? And that's how we develop a budget to be able to present to the board. So sometimes those things, it can be very difficult, and we look at all the factors, but that's how we come up with the ideas of how we balance a budget and come together with it. These tax exemptions, Jim will talk about a little bit more, and we'll move forward.
Okay. So let's move on to the list of potential changes to exemptions that are under consideration and under discussion here tonight. New is the exemption for volunteer firefighter and EMTs added to state law in December 2022. The existing, there is an existing senior citizens low income exemption that was expanded by state law also in December 2022. There has been no recent change, but we've received some inquiries into the veterans exemptions and what the levels are and what they might be. No recent change there, but because we got inquiries, we decided to discuss that as well. So the next slide will just go over the deadline for all of these exemptions for putting them in place and having them applied for is March 1st of any year.
And I'll piggyback every once in a while. And just to clarify, we currently have two exemptions. We have the low income senior and we have the veterans exemption.
So the first decision on the volunteer firefighter EMT exemption is always if the board will add the exemption. If yes, then there are decision points that you have to go through. One of them being what percentage is the exemption? It can be up to 10% maximum. How many verified years of service are required between 2 and 5? Will members with 20 years of service receive a lifetime exemption? Will unremarried spouses of members who died due to their service receive the exemption? And if number 3 is adopted, will the unremarried spouses receive that exemption for the rest of their life? Talking about the potential impact is very difficult because we don't have this exemption in place right now. So I've made my best effort at trying to get a maximum number that it could be. I took the lists of fire company members from the websites and totaled them up. 184 for the two of them together. I think it was 132 and 52. Don't remember that precisely. The assumption is made that the average value of the home for the exemption is the average value of the home in the community, which is $300,000. The estimated exemption amount of $5.5 million would increase the tax rate by 5.5 cents per thousand of market value, which is about 1/3% of an increase. So everyone would get that increase to give the exemption. Next one is the senior citizens low income exemption. This is an existing exemption that has been expanded potentially. The increase on the maximum exemption has gone from 29,000 to 50,000. There was a decent baseline for us to work from with this. This one's a little more sure. We know that the existing exemptions are 2.4 million. The increase for the 84 people that get it right now is 1.8 million. We assume, because we have no real way to judge it, that about the same number of people would be affected by the increase in income limits. So that would be $4 million. The total 6 million increase, potential increase, would increase the tax rate by 6 cents per thousand of market value, about a 0.4%. The veterans exemption, it was set in this district in 2016. It's a maximum of $6,000 for veterans, $10,000 for combat veterans, and $20,000 for disabled veterans. Current value of the exemption for almost 400 recipients is $22 million. There's no change to the law. We decided to look at it based on requests we've received and concerns from veterans. There are multiple levels of the exemption possible. I think it goes from A to X or something. There are all these different levels. The next level is 12,000 for veteran, 20,000 for combat veteran, and 40,000 for disabled veteran. That would increase the tax rate by approximately 22 cents per thousand of market value, which is almost a 1.5% increase. Summary of the potential impacts. I wanted to bring this down to real world numbers so people could understand it a little better. If the board adopts the firefighter EMT exemption, the estimated impact would have an effect of increasing taxes by $16.50 for the average home. If they adopt the senior citizen low income exemption, it's 6 cents per thousand. I have a typo there. That's $18 for the average home. If the increase to the veterans exemption is adopted, the impact is $66 for an average home. If all three were adopted, the impact would be right around $100 for the average home every year. But that's the presentation.
Oh, we got.
Okay, thank you to Jim and Frank for that background. And with that, we move to the opportunity for the public to be heard. We want to hear from you on any priorities you may have for the budget, for the annual budget of this district, your thoughts on the exemptions that were put forth today. And we do have some basic guidelines for the opportunity for the public to be heard at our regular board meetings, but we're adjusting them for this evening because this evening was convened as a forum so that we could hear directly from you. We ask that you still be mindful of the time and keep your remarks to approximately 3 minutes. For this forum, if you do have questions and either Frank or Jim can answer them on the spot, they'll be answered right here and now. If the answers are not available, we'll work out a way to connect with you later. Additionally, if any board members do have a question to ask you to clarify your input, we hope that you can have that exchange with them. So thank you all for coming today. And with that, we open the floor to you, the public. Please, when you come forward, come to the podium next to Mr. Southard and just state your name and then have it. So, sure.
Good evening. Thank you very much for affording me an opportunity to speak this evening. My name is Bill Young. Myself and my wife, we have lived in the community since 1987, had our home built down in Weatherfield. Our daughter graduated from Voorheesville High School. And then, in fact, the commencement speaker at that time was Governor Cuomo, Mario Cuomo. He spoke at, that is the only graduation ceremony he ever spoke at because he recognized the blue ribbon excellence of this particular school district. And we want to thank you on behalf of myself, my wife, and the residents of the community for the program that you provided. That being said, as I say, we live in Weatherfield. Our current market value is $370,000, and we have a current assessment of $315,000. So we kind of fall right in your category. I've represented the volunteer fire service for many years. starting in 1976. I represented the Westminster Fire District. At one time, I was counsel for the State Association of Fire Districts. And I'm very supportive of the volunteer fire service. So I don't want you to think, oh, this is some guy in all of a sudden. Why is he speaking so supportive? I do have an axe to grind here. So the volunteer fire service is critical to our country. First volunteer fire department was formed by Benjamin Franklin in 1734. It's almost 300 years ago, before our Constitution, before a lot of other things. We had the volunteer fire service in the city of Philadelphia. They provided tremendous service. Statistics I've seen from FASNY, Firemen's Association of the State of New York, indicate that volunteer firefighters save the taxpayers of the state of New York $3.7 billion, that's billion dollars a year. Without them, our taxes, our property taxes would be significantly higher. The increase to me for the volunteer fire service would be an additional $15.75. I think that's a very small recognition of the service that they provide. And I would encourage the board to adopt that particular suggestion. It's something that was new legislation that was just adopted in 2022. Relative to the seniors, supportive of them. You know, I am a senior. I don't think I fall in the category I would benefit from it, but I always supportive of them. And of course, the veterans. I did serve 6 years, so I'm also very supportive of the veteran service. So again, thank you very much. I think I've used up my 3 minutes, but thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Young.
Hi, my name is Tom Cascone. I'm the chief of the Voorheesville Fire Department. I brought some of my family with me in support of the 10%. The numbers that we see were gathered off of a list. Our department would have 34 members, 35 members that would be eligible. So it brings it way down. Also, we've had somebody take a look, and our property values average is about $250,000 as far as firefighter houses. As you know, the volunteer fire department, we have low retention. Low people coming in because people don't have time. People are so busy. We don't make nothing. We have a $200 state tax deduction. That's it right now. As far as this would help bring in more firefighters. And actually, our average age is 55 years right now. That's our average age. So this would help bring in some younger firefighters that would stick around the area, bring their kids to this school, and help out in all the stuff that we do. We do a lot of stuff around the village. As you see, we did Fall Fest. All the proceeds for Fall Fest went to the Voorheesville Community School Fund. All that money went to the school fund. We do other stuff in the village. We adopted a young child that had cancer, and we did a breakfast with Santa and raised almost $10,000 to send his parents over to Boston every single weekend to be with them. So you see, we do a lot inside the village. If you were if the volunteer fire service was to fail, you were talking about almost a 50% increase in property taxes. Almost a 50% increase. Think about that. We're asking for pennies compared to what would happen if the volunteer service died. Don't forget, we are 24/7. We're like the mailman. Rain, sleet, snow, we're still going, right? And while everybody's trying to get out of the house, we're going into the house. We're trying to protect people and property. Also, a couple of years ago, you guys had a flood. Paid fire services do not do pump outs. We had 2 fire companies. New Salem was with us. We pumped out so just think about it. You would have to pay somebody to come pump out your your school. So think of the services that we do and we take care of. And we're not asking a lot. If you were to go to a paid fire department, you would have to pay firefighters. And you're talking 24/7. You'd have to house firefighters. So that means the buildings that we have now would have to have housing in them. When the kids come in for kindergarten class and we're teaching them, they ask, "Where's the pole?" We don't live there. They would have to live there. So think about that. You would also have to feed them. After they retire, you will have to pay their pension for the rest of their lives. So all we're asking for is our members, and we would love to bring in some new members. So anybody wants to come down, including the board, come down and see what our drills are like. Come and practice with us and see what we do all the time. Every Tuesday night, except for the first Tuesday of the month, we're out drilling. So that means we're pumping water somewhere, or we're climbing ladders, we're cutting something. We do cleanup sometimes. So sometimes drill is like we had to take down the tent and all that stuff. And we do stuff together as a community. So please consider this 10% increase. 10% taken off our taxes to help us with the volunteer fire service. Thank you very much. Have a great night.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate that. Whoever's next, welcome.
These are red.
Okay, I was like, I'm ready for your person. Come on up.
My name is George Henderson. I'm part of the New Salem Fire Department. I've been here for going on 3 years. I operate 3 school districts, so you know where my heart is with children. I've been doing firefighting since I was 14, so I'm 43 years into it. We're asking for a menial amount for our taxes. Considering the amount of money we put into it personally, amount of training, amount of hours, amount of dedication. We smile every day. The communities were there. The community events were there for the community, for the children, for the adults. We're there with a passion that nobody can beat. And our dedication falls through every day. So all I'm asking for is not to adopt this and let this fall through, because we're still gonna be there tomorrow. And we're very passionate. My wife is with me as well. She's with me 100%. We live right across the street from one of the firehouses. But it's not about just that. We go to the community events, we do the support. I mean, and we have, you know, husband and wife team, that's all they do. 24/7. We're up there 7 days a week. And then still working full-time job. Everybody in here. And then that's not even including the training hours and the time. So be considerate about that and think about that. We're in it for the passion. We're in it for the community. We're in there for the people. So now you need to be in there for us.
Thank you.
Good evening, John Springer from New Salem Fire Department, Assistant Chief. I don't know what you had for our numbers as far as members. We only have about 35 members. And I believe about 18 to 20 of those would actually qualify. We have members that have apartments, so they rent, so they don't qualify. We also have some that are out of district, so they don't qualify either. So I think that 10% is not a lot of, you know, it's not a lot of money for our department. And I think that we should try to consider that for all the members here, EMTs and everything. So that's what I just wanted to mention. Because I was looking at the numbers on the sheet, there were 184, and I thought that was kind of high.
You said how many would qualify? 18 to 20?
18 to 20.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's not that many from New Salem.
So more like 50 total versus 184 total.
Yeah, do our numbers come from like a state database? Is that really?
No, they
No,
came
it's
from the websites of the
Okay.
fire departments. So.
Yeah.
Our website says about 60 members, and his might say that too. The thing is, we went through and we took the eligibility, and that's what knocks ours down.
We don't have the ability.
Yeah, they don't know, yeah, exactly, they don't.
Is that
they didn't-
because of the years, or is that because of what impacts the eligibility when you look at that?
If they don't own property.
Yeah.
If they're not in the district. So we do have some firefighters that might be outside of
Oh, yeah.
the school district there, so.
Fire police.
No,
Years too.
my son lives with me, so he
Yeah,
doesn't.
yeah.
Yeah,
The town is also years, correct? the years of service?
Well, that was.
Well, the years of service, you guys are putting it, hopefully 2.
Yeah, is that what you considered when you did your
We were
numbers?
doing 20 years service for the gentleman, because I know some people go, they're not all firefighters. Really? How old are you? He's an interior firefighter. So, and we have guys that have done it, they got 25 years in, so that's what we were, 20 years in, and we were looking to get them on there. But yet, some of the guys have 50 years in. So we wanted to make sure they were covered because they've lived in the village for their whole life, because they've been firefighters their whole life. So, but yeah, that's a lot of the guys that get knocked out are the ones that are renting, as his fire department probably
Yeah,
does
so
too.
it's got,
Yep.
basically cut in half, but you
Yep.
take half of our members are only qualifying for that.
Thank you for explaining that. That's something that we could never expect Mr. Southern to be able
Yes,
to
because I checked
determine.
our enrollment there
Yeah.
today just to see. And, like Tom said, it is an incentive there because we had a couple members that are not very active. But then when there was talk about having this incentive, they started to come around more because they want that benefit. So it's gonna help us also.
Yeah.
So I just appreciate your time. So
Thank you.
please consider, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your input.
And, Jim, on the veterans data, does that come from, we have an existing exemption?
We have it.
So we know, so those are more actual numbers.
That should be closer to reality. As I put in the presentation, this was a maximum based on very limited information.
And that's the same with the low income seniors. We have actual data.
Yeah.
We have actual
Those people
data.
that claim that now.
That's probably a little less squishy than the firefighters, but more squishy than the veterans.
These are numbers, guy.
But either way, the numbers that you threw around before, I consider them to be maximums, I guess, at this point, as opposed to, that's a ceiling, not a.
Yeah, that's what was noted in the presentation as well.
Is there anyone else who wants to give input here tonight?
Yeah, I will. Hi, I'm Greg. Welcome.
Can you
Sure,
come
up
here?
there.
Sorry. It also allows, this is being recorded. Did not say
Okay.
that at the outset, but it is being recorded and will be available on the YouTube site. So anyone watching at home or wherever they watch from.
My name is Greg Welk. Good evening, everybody. I'm a retired United States Army disabled veteran. I'm here to support the firemen because my house almost burned down on one of the coldest nights. Both Voorheesville and New Scotland responded. I also happen to notice around this district, a lot of $100,000 plus cars. So as far as I'm concerned as a taxpayer, our district can well afford this simple exemption. I do have some questions though. I look at the veterans exemption. This number kind of scares me, 391 veterans, but $22 million. You got to word that different because, I'm doing the math. That's $22 million off the assessed value of their houses. My first question, what's the mean value of a house here?
Mean value is approximately $300,000.
Because I know a lot of veterans, unfortunately, that have to decide. I know a lot of people, period, that have to decide, do they want to heat their house? Or do they want to have food? That's a real struggle in this district, but we just don't talk about it. And as a veteran, I'm not looking for anything. I served because I wanted to, but it would be nice because I was told that, what our surrounding school districts do. Well, I know that one of the poorest districts in this area is Bern, and they treat their firemen and they treat their veterans a lot more than this district does. So my one question is if a veteran is also a firefighter, are you going to afford them both of those discounts? That's a question I ask.
So that's more of a question for the assessor because they
Okay.
handle putting it on the actual tax rolls. They would handle the application as well as the verification.
What's the next step in this, after this meeting? That's another question.
The next step, I think, will be to add this to the agenda for a future meeting. My guess is that we would not do it at the November meeting because we want to allow people to watch the video and email us with their input, but probably the December meeting, we would discuss and move forward on any resolutions.
Amazing. And what time is, what is the deadline to make
March
the final
1st.
decision? March 1st?
March 1st is when you have to have the decision and have the applications in. So you want to move back from there to make sure people have time to apply.
So December would give us plenty of time.
Yes.
Is that, just, yeah. So that would be the next step, would be probably to give folks listening from home a chance to provide input. You know, there's volleyball going on tonight and lots of other things as well. So we can't expect everyone to be able to be here, but we want to be able to hear from as many people who want to share their input on the exemptions and the budget priorities as well. But, so we wouldn't move forward on the budget. So-
Thank you. Thank you. I want.
No, thank you.
And I want to thank the firemen too, and I hope
Yeah.
that you're granted the 10%. Thank you,
Okay.
everybody.
Thank you very much for your input.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to come forward at this time?
Yeah, one more.
Come forward.
Just wanted to make sure that the firemen understand that whoever is in charge of your organization, make sure that they get the names of those individuals who are eligible to the assessor before March 1st, because March 1st is kind of the cutoff date. So you want to make sure that that happens, and then every year you update that list for new firefighters that are coming on. So again, I just encourage you to make sure you stay on top of that.
There we go. Please.
I just wanted to reiterate what everyone said. My husband is a firefighter. Oh, I'm sorry, Lauren Furlong. My husband is a firefighter with New Salem as well. And I think that people also need to realize that this is a small thing for not just the individuals who choose to be the firefighters, but their families too that are at home while these things are happening. You know, I'm sending my husband and my son at some point too, when he was younger, out to help other people who are in a horrible place in their life right then and there. But I'm sending my loved ones in to take care of them. And I think it's important to remember that this is just a small token that as a district and a community, we can do for these people and their families as a thank you. It's a big investment of time and commitment, and the EMTs as well. I think that we can't forget about them because there's a lot of training that has to go on too. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Oh, come on.
So I did talk about our $200 state tax that we get off. If we are able to get this, we lose that at this time. So right now, the village, the county, and the town have passed the 10% with the stuff that we talked about. And with that, it does not make even close to $200. And right now, the state has not adopted to allow us to get hold. So we would actually lose that if we were able to get, because hopefully we'd push it over the $200. So I just wanted to update that out because that's a big, little chunk, but so.
Can I ask a question about so your members who don't own homes and who rent, would they lose that $200?
No.
Is it,
So
it's only if you're
either
getting,
or. It's either or. Hopefully the state passes because it is talk to pass in both, but right now we would, anybody that would take the on 10% would lose the $200.
yeah, as long as it's more than the
So-
$200, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Okay, good.
So I have a question. So the new math,
Come on up.
so the new math,
Say your
Your
name,
name,
please.
sorry, I'm Carl Trieger, volunteer fireman in Voorheesville.
Thank you, sir.
The new math would be, roughly 50 firefighters between New Salem and Voorheesville, on a $300,000 house would be potentially less than 6 cents per 1,000 because it's considerably less.
It would be considerably less if that's the number, yes.
Right, so, and it's probably a lot further away from 184, assuming, the rough count. So just reiterating, I don't think it would be, if our tax credit is $200, I don't think we're gonna benefit, but another couple $100. I don't think it's going to be a tremendous amount in that if the assessed value of volunteer firemen less on the typical assessment of the home. So anyway, just sort of reiterating, it's not the big number that moves up there, so it's quite a bit less. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah.
I just have a quick question. I live in Weatherfield in the town of Gilderland. What's fire district serves me?
Gilderland Center.
Center. Are they a part of our equation here?
No,
Why not?
because they're in Gilderland, school district.
Because they're headquartered there?
That's,
Because they service homes that are in the Voorheesville school.
but they're Gilderland Fire, so we can't, so that would be an added district. That's one of the loopholes that kicks a lot of numbers down, is you gotta be in the fire district, in the school district.
So I do have a question to follow up on that, because that's a really good point, is that, and I think it would be a very minimal amount of people, but still I want to, so I live in Weatherfield as well, by the way, hi neighbor. And so let's say we have somebody who is in Gilderland Center and is a part of the volunteer fire department there, but their kids live in Weatherfield or they're still in Voorheesville. Would they get Gilderland's? They would get our tax deduction, right?
They would get nothing, actually.
Really?
Yes, because they have to be in the school district, in the fire district.
Okay, so it's gotta be.
Fire districts. You have to be serving the fire districts.
Yeah.
All right, that's, I just want to
Yes,
clarify. That's
But
good.
they get
I
the
wish-
200, right?
They get the 200, but yeah, and yes, it is a minimal amount, comparative, but it's sad, but yeah, we lose them, even though they're doing the same service we are. We wish it wasn't put that way by the state, and hopefully they'll adopt a change in the future. But yeah, they lose out on something like that.
Thank you for clarifying.
Mr. Young had a
You also just clarify that. for a
next
moment.
question, just take from your seat.
In order to benefit from the Voorheesville School District tax exemption, they would have to be a resident of the Voorheesville School District. And they would have to be a member of a district which provides protection to a portion of the Voorheesville School District, which is just a small part of Gillen Center that provides protection, Weatherfield. And maybe some of the other School Road out in that area. I'm not sure where your boundary line is.
I was just thinking it is going to get bigger over the next 5 years.
Pardon?
It will get a bigger zone, given the fact that Albany Country Club's extension that they're looking at.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good question just to ask for me for clarification, so I appreciate that.
No problem. And she's like, I saw that face, you were like, wow, that doesn't make sense. No, you right here in front.
Me too.
Well, it sounds like it's kind of a catch-22.
Yeah,
Well, you have to be both a resident of the taxing entity and you have to be a member of the department that provides protection to that taxing entity.
So those two people are,
So I don't think there are many
Maybe like one.
volunteer firefighters, unfortunately, that live in Weatherfield or that area.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you.
And just as a clarification, we respond sometimes first to Weatherfield as a mutual aid call.
Oh, yeah.
Voorheesville is very central in our community and we respond pretty quickly and we have a very active membership. So it doesn't say, oh, that's Gilderland Center, stay home. It's, well, you know, if your house is on fire, your house is on fire. So we don't discriminate.
I've seen trucks from Westmere come in. I've seen trucks from Gilderland come in.
As a fire department, and they'll attest, we will jump on everybody to help.
Sure.
We've had one where we had Escobar, North Bethlehem, Slingerlands, us, New Salem, Gilliland, North Altamont, Ellesmere. So it is, and that is a sad thing that we can't have the guys that are not involved. But, yeah, we're a real big family, not just my guys, we're a family too back there.
Mutual aid is something that all these organizations participate in.
is there anyone else who would like to bring up anything else? Oh,
Hello, my name is Meredith Coons. I am a wife of a firefighter in New Salem, and I am the sister of the firefighter in Voorheesville. I am also not a public speaker, so I apologize. I have nothing prepared, but I'm listening to everyone.
You go a
And
little louder?
I can be louder, you know I can be louder.
Not too loud.
I wanted to touch base on something nobody else has. And these men and women, by the way, that serve on New Salem and Voorheesville, they won't bring this up because that's not what they do. They volunteer to run into houses or to help with car accidents and all of this dangerous stuff that I don't even want to tell you about, okay? Because if that's who they are, that's what they do. Not me, that's why I'm on the auxiliary, okay? They're not going to be, they're here advocating for themselves, and that's fantastic, but there's something more than what they do. There's an aftermath to it. They do the training, they leave their kids' birthdays or family events or meetings or what have you. I'm sure everybody in this room knows a firefighter. You know, it's kind of a joke in our house when we have a family dinner and my husband and brother get the call, especially if it's a mutual aid. But there, and I'm going to give an example that I won't go into detail because you all know about it. This past summer, there was a horrific house fire, and you lost a student, and the student lost a sibling, and these guys risked their lives, and it didn't end there. You know it didn't end there because you provided counseling. And it was open to the firefighters who responded to that call. Few who are in this room, by the way. And there's little things that you just don't know about. Like, did you know on their gear? Because I didn't know this till after the fact. When my husband told me he was in the house and he had to keep moving when the fire rekindled. Because apparently if you don't have enough activity when you have your gear on, you have an alarm. Am I correct? Okay. That alarm goes off when they stop moving. So the men and women outside know they need to come in and rescue their fellow firefighters. They witness things and they experience loss. They feel guilt because there was loss that they did not have control over and never could have saved. But they still feel guilt because this is what they do. They risk their lives. They don't give it a second thought. I don't believe any of the members of the board or Frank or you are on the fire department, or maybe you have been in the past. I really strongly urge you all to pick one of their training nights and go and see what these men and women do. It's not going and having dinner, although they're meetings sometimes, but these trainings are intense. The trainings serve a purpose. It's to help keep them alive so they can keep you alive. And I think as a community and as a school board and what we teach our kids, the least we can do is give them that 10%. Because no, it's really not about the money, to be quite honest with you. They're probably not even gonna feel that 10% in their tax exemption. And they volunteer, so it was never about the money. Because they started when none of this happened. And I believe we can thank Mr. Young for LoSAP, which is a wonderful thank you. They're not going to be able to retire on it, but it is something. And I think this 10% is an appreciation and a thank you from all of us to them for what they do. And so that they keep doing it and hopefully they get more. And like Chief Cascon said, that they get, you know, a younger recruitment as well that can move up and have their kids in the community. My brother went in and he did the open house, I believe, for his daughter's kindergarten class. She's like a hero because, you know, he's daddy, but he's a fireman. But that's way cooler than being dad. But I just think as a community member, and it has nothing to do, you know, it really has nothing to do with the fact that, yes, I do have 2 firefighters in my family. I also have a veteran in my family. My father fought, he served 3 tours in Vietnam in the Marines. And Mr. Wilk, thank you very much for your service. We met out in the lobby And he was asking me questions and saying he was supporting the firefighter, or I'm sorry, he was here about the veteran. I had no idea that he had an experience with the fire department. So thank you for sharing that. At some point in your lives, you're going to need a firefighter. And like I said, the least we can do is thank them and show them that appreciation for what they do. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to come forward? Mr. Henderson.
So to give you my facts, I've already told you about it. I'm about numbers too. So if you look at the numbers, you're asking for $100 per month, basically, $100.50. That's a 0.0335% increase in your taxes to give it to us. And if you think about it, how many, everybody in this room is working, you don't want to go up there and say, hey, can I have a 0.0335% raise today? I don't. Especially the dedication and the training and the brotherhood that we have together. Like Chief Voorheesville said, when we call, we look at each other. We know who we are. We're there because he don't even have to say anything. And nobody's thinking because we're that tight knit of a family. Veterans, they've done our due diligence. Where we're standing in this room, and look what's going on in this world right now. And the seniors have been in our community the entire time serving for our community. So say you adopt all three. That's my opinion.
Thank you very much.
Hi, Matt Bergeron, president of the district, two children in the district. One in college, just did all of our college applications. So,
Congratulations.
daunting. I want to thank everyone who gives their time to our communities, to our country. It's very important. And it's very important that you turned out here today. So thank you very much for that. I want to pivot a little and more to the budget priority questions and as part of this discussion as well. And I think as a parent, it's the taxpayer, it's easy for me to come up and say, of course, we want everything that's best for our kids and we want everything to stay the same. It should always be our goal to improve. That should always be our goal to, in education, and that's to improve. But I think this is fair for me to do because I want to turn this on its head and I want to ask you, what are your priorities as we really start to set up the budget for the upcoming school year? We're going to start seeing drafts. So what are your priorities going to be? And I am going to throw in the fraught topic of the tax cap, and to what extent will you be bound by that? Possibly in terms of, when you put this budget together, because education is about local control and it's about what our communities want, and our communities want tax exemptions for veterans and for veterans, for fire and EMS. But we may also want other things that might need us to consider having to go beyond that tax cap. Certainly everything is on a case-by-case basis, and it's something that we look at, but I did want to turn that around as a taxpayer and parent. I'd like to know what your priorities are, what we can expect to see in draft budgets that are going to start coming in.
So I'm going to take this one because
But we're gonna hold them to 3 minutes because this is a whole.
I love this because Jim will attest to it. I came back today and I kind of went on a diatribe with him about the budget process today. So this is actually something we've been thinking about. We start our budget process now. We have our administrators start looking at what they did last year. What were the things that we put into the budget? Did they work? Did they not work? And what are those things? And then what are we currently doing that is working? Then in November, December, they come back for the data analysis of all the things that they want to see in their programs. So that's equipment, programs, wish list things that they want to be seeing in the program. In December, I'm going to come back to the board and say, what are your budget priorities? Then after we take all of those budget priorities and things that we're looking at, we're going to say, how much does that cost our district? And what is the sustainability? And then we're going to rank them based on the amount of students or programs that are needed. After we do all that and we figure out what our tax cap is and what our gap is, right? Because right now I think we're running, I don't even want to say it. I think it's like a $650,000 gap, but that it's normal to have gaps now like this, so from year to year. But we've already run some of our numbers to see where we are. After we have all of that done, then I can give you a better answer of where our budget priorities are. But right now we're in that kind of finding phase, and we're really hoping tonight this is kind of helping start that. I'd like to see something like this each year so we can do more and even maybe thought exchanges or different ways to get budget priorities. So I don't have a good answer, but that is the structure that we use to be able to find it. That was about 2 minutes.
That's perfect.
And I guess I would just,
Yeah.
yeah, and if I could, I would just say that as a parent, and I know that we're aspirational, it's really big picture, but it's always our goal to see a very minimum maintenance of the resources and services for our children, but also an enhancement and an increasing and recouping those things that we may have had to cut in the past. Those are things that in my world of what I do, there's one rule that you always need to be mindful of is once you lose something, you may never, ever get it back. Concessions are very difficult to make. And these concessions are concessions that we make for our kids. And so I just ask that you keep that in mind as you head into the budget process. And thank you for having this forum.
Did you have anything specifically in mind when you were talking about things that had been cut?
I know that the French program was one program that had been cut. I know that I believe that there were some science programs that have been cut in the past. I'm not gonna sit here and.
Science lab in the elementary, maybe?
I believe that's the case. Yeah. Frank, I know that their musical minds can differ in terms of the value of that program, and those are discussions that I think that can and should be had, but, but beyond that, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that I did copious amounts of research because I didn't, but from a high level view, I just encourage the board to, not shy away from, an increased tax levy because something it's an increased tax levy. We live in a world where things cost money. That burden does get distributed sometimes not fairly, but sometimes. Thank you very much. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Burton. Is there anyone else who would like to come forward at this point, or if you've spoken before from your seat?
For my seat, I don't want to go up.
Okay, go for
Well,
it.
I got a couple of things. I'm actually active 10-year volunteer myself with my husband. As far as all three adoptions, I really feel all three, because I actually have active cousins and nephews and that all in the military. I have family that is vets and everything. Also supporting all the EMTs, firefighters, everybody emergency service, doesn't care what line you are, whether it's any strain. The craziest part, and I'm sure we can all relate to it, serious note and a joke at the same time. What fool puts $5 or $4 a gallon of fuel to come to your emergency and that? We don't ask for nothing back. You got the wear, the care, the training, whatever. We're always there willing and ready to train with you guys. It doesn't matter. It's just ridiculous to even think for a second whether it's $20, $50 extra in your taxes. That has no bearing whatsoever. So just really consider that kind of stuff when you guys are thinking about money. Struggles are not real right now, but stop with the excuses and everybody get out and volunteer. Go to your local area and just find time. It's called volunteer for a reason. You don't have to be there day and night. Right? Thank you.
Mary, I'm reading yours. Jackie, sorry. Mary Henderson? No, Gordon? Okay, so sorry. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak at this point? Anyone who hasn't spoken yet, but has been thinking about something that they would like to share? Anyone who has not spoken, but no, I'm not trying to make it go on twice, going 3 times, but does have something that they would like to share that they come up with at night and say, dang it. We have an email address, vcsdboe@voorheesville.org. It's on the website. It's in a lot of the publications. I think it's in the email that has gone out. please feel free to use it. It goes to the 8 of us, Frank, and the 7 us board members. And we will respond to you. We'll, if it's a Jim question, Mr. Southard, you can also email him directly, jsouthard@voorheesville.org. I checked with him beforehand. I'm not, but we will work hard to get you an answer, or we will listen hard to absorb what you have to say. That goes for everyone here and anyone who's listening. We are looking for the input of this community on these topics at this point, and we appreciate the time that you guys took to think about being here and then to get here and to be here. So thank you very much. All right, now I'm going to do going once, going twice. No? Okay, thank you all very much, and we appreciate, again, all of your time and all of your service to this community.